Warren Buffett has a really great quote that says, only when the tide goes out can you really discover if anyone's swimming naked. And here's the thing, although I know that's a great visual, or maybe it isn't, depending upon how you're visualizing that moment. But here's the thing, once in a boom economy or a bubble, you're always gonna have a bunch of noise that is gonna interrupt the signal. And specifically with NFTs, the noise can be huge and it could be confusing. I mean, think about some of the noise we're seeing right now. NFTs are dead. Or Bill Gates, right? That NFTs are 100% greater fool theory. You heard that. Or maybe you're looking at some of the, like OpenSea, some of the marketplaces and looking at their daily volume, sales volumes going down, or NFT prices going down. Or you open up the papers and all of a sudden you see like the speculative, bubble is gonna burst. It's crazy, you better get out. Or, it's powered by pop culture and crypto mania. I mean, it even gets comical at times. Hunter and I work with one of the top NFT companies valued at north of like 750 million. And when we get into a Zoom meeting, they have names like Poopy and Dr. Bun. And what else, Hunter? Burnt toast, right? So I'm like, okay, Poopy, is this the strategy you want? And Dr. Bun, should we massage this a little? I mean, it just gets kind of crazy. So at some point you're like, do I even pay attention to this category or do I exit? And the thing is that this is all just part of the process, right? This is kind of, when I was running marketing at the Warriors and we streamed the first virtual reality basketball game ever, I was asked by a reporter, where are we in the journey of virtual reality? And I said, well, we're not at the beginning, we're at the beginning of the beginning. And that's kind of where I feel we are right now. So this chapter 1 with, profile pics and the first tweet and doodles and Bored Apes and all that, all incredible. But that is closing, right? Really wonderful we had it because you have to go in, you gotta feel the texture, you gotta understand the space, you gotta look at the discipline, you gotta look at the structure, you gotta have smart people thinking about smart things. But the signal is still locked in there, in my opinion. Now, chapter 2 is about utility and real world utility. Like back to like brands thinking about how do we create relevancy and value for our customers, our fans, our guests, our members. How do we do that? And then we get to chapter 3 and chapter 4, and eventually we get to mass adoption, where at some point we'll look back at a video of me or all of us here saying, wow, I can't believe, we still called them NFTs back then. Or we didn't even understand how utility played in that. I don't know if any of you have seen the 1995 Today Show clip when they just started talking about the internet. And Brian Gumbel and Katie Couric is like, what is internet? What's that little A sign, whatever? That's where we are, and you can see how far we've come. And it's pretty amazing. And brands are gonna have to figure out their strategy. Now, whether they have to figure it out right now, they have to build teams, or in the future, that depends on a lot of discussion and understanding of the space. But at some point, they're gonna need to figure that out. And the most amazing thing is that utility, this concept, we were just talking about this, the concept of utility, that a good delivers satisfied value or satisfied need to someone has been around since the 18th century. In economics and marketing, this is not new stuff. Behavior modeling, not new stuff. Human behavior, not new stuff. It just kind of all feels new when we talk to brands and when we start to really understand how to apply that. Is there a new approach? Is there a new structure? What is the reality of utility? And that's what we're going to talk about today on this panel. So if you could welcome the 3 panelists, Mike, Chris, and Hunter up here. All right. So where I want to start first, I just would love you guys to just do a quick introduction, super quick, just name and a little bit about what you do. Hunter, why don't you go ahead and start? We'll go down.
All right, I'm Hunter Abramson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Relic Tickets. We're, as Kenny said, an NFT ticketing platform that really focuses on mass adoption and utility. We're kind of like our power play in the market right now is we call ourselves a Web2 ticketing company with Web3 tech. We've masked a lot of the Web3 technology so that we can create mass adoption for experiences, live entertainment, sports, and then also heading all the way into public transit and airlines and cruise ships. So that is kind of where we lay.
And I'm Chris Silver. Hello again. I'm co-founder of Bamboo Meta. I come from this from a little bit different angle. I was CIO of David Yurman. Before that, CIO of MAC Cosmetics and Estee Lauder. Before that, Urban Outfitters forever. Right now, I'm with Bamboo Meta. They're an amazing company. We actually built the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3. We actually own the patent for putting NFTs in your native Google and Apple wallet. The benefit to that is that we get to really power and show value to a consumer by powering loyalty and omni and marketing, but keeping it along that brand voice and DNA that everyone works so hard for.
Great. Mike.
Hi, guys. I'm Mike Shaman. I'm CEO of Gen City Labs. There are three parts to our business. One is we launched a generative project about a year ago that is called Non-Fungible Heroes. We are actually airdropping Non-Fungible Heroes to anybody, so if you guys haven't seen us at the table there, go get one. They're awesome. We have amazing art, and we really did that to gain some domain expertise. We wanted to find out what it was like to drop a project and to create a community and then to engage that community in unique ways. Second part of our business is a bit of agency services. We are helping brands onboard into Web3 in a variety of different ways, from development and implementation to strategy and beyond. But the biggest part of what we're doing is building a platform. The Flywheel platform is really about community creation, engagement, and reward. So really coming up with ways to use wallets and NFT ownership as a hub around which we can actually engage community more deeply and connect them to one another. So that's Gen City.
All right. Thanks, guys. Okay, so panelists, you guys. I've been doing marketing and experience creation for, 30 plus years, and a lot of people in the audience have been building communities, creating loyalty, building structures around monetization, different pillars of revenue, building communities. Now all of a sudden we've got this NFT thing, and what I want to know is, do I have to rethink everything that I'm doing? I mean, is there a completely different approach to this, or is this just another tool that I have in my tool belt to drive the right kind of behavior that I want? And I guess it's more like, how is this different from the marketer of today?
Yeah, I think, coming from the brand side, obviously the iconic brands I've had the privilege of working for, we're storytellers at the end of the day. I love telling a story. I love building that relationship between a customer, the brand, and the amazing product. I think I heard JC from, he's CEO of Gibson Guitars. He talks about creating moments, right? Creating these amazing sparks of inspiration, discovery that a customer finds when they engage with you and they engage with the brand. I think this new world of Web3 enhances a brand's ability to create relationships, to create collaborations, to create community around their core values, and without them having to leave their brand experience, that voice, that DNA, that culture that they've spent 20, 30, 40, 50 years kind of cultivating and working with you. It's extremely important, that perception. So I think it's something that can add and enhance when done the right way.
I think enhance is it's the perfect word for it, because everyone wants to think that this is a completely new set of principles and activities that you have with all of your consumers, and that's one thing Kenny and I have focused really heavily on with the brands and events that we work with is, guys, this is all the same concepts. This is just a new tool that can enhance your relationship with your consumers, not only through time, but on site, or exactly what value you can add to them and what utility you can give them to, as we say at Relic, collapse the distance between you or your event organizer and the fan, or the fan of what they're a fan of. So, and I personally, Enhance is exactly what I think of when I think of what is this all doing in the market today, because it is not any new principles that we have not all seen. I go even back all the way to sweepstakes. Like, this is all the way back to even sweepstakes principles that you can utilize NFTs for the same thing, so.
Yeah, and I'd say I'd agree with both of you guys. The one thing that I think I'd want everybody in the audience to take away today is recognizing the power of digital identity and the role that NFTs can play in that. I think that, from a fundamental behavior perspective, you mentioned it at the top, Kenny, those things haven't changed, right? People still have the same drivers and motivators for behavior that they always have. What's different is the means in which we express that. Traditionally, you have people buying a Rolex, you have people buying a sports car and rolling up and having very ego-expressive ways to showcase wealth or belonging or community. Now that we spend such a significant portion of our lives in digital mediums, it's really become with social media, it's become, I'm going to post pictures of my vacation or my family or my dinner, or, that's kind of how people are flexing these days. With Web3 and the concept of digital ownership overlaid on top of that kind of human behavior, that's what pushes us into, I can use these things that I own to establish a digital identity. You guys see my ape up there. That has become a huge part of my identity online and in Web3. And I do that because in the Web3 universe, it says that this person was early, they own something of value, they're part of a community. And what goes along with that is actually really unique and interesting. It's, immediate recognition and access. So I think that what we'll see is, again, core fundamentals stay the same. The way that we get there a little bit different.
All right, that's great. I absolutely think in terms of how to look at using these new technologies to drive the behavior, again, everything always starts, and this goes to my next question, but everything always starts with first identifying what behavior you want to drive and then designing for that behavior to happen. And once you understand the capabilities of NFT and a lot of things we're going to talk about, like digital identity and getting an NFT to somebody and what that actually means, then that becomes part of your ability to design for a very specific behavior to happen, which is what we do in marketing. So now put yourself in the brand's position. Say you're a C-suite, you're a CEO, you're a CMO or whatever. What should brands be doing right now? And what should they be considering? Should they be building teams? Should they be looking at partnering? Is it too early? Is it too late? Like, what's some advice you can give to them?
I can say that, given where we're at in the market, thinking about NFTs as a revenue generator is probably not the right approach. That might have existed a year ago where you could probably launch something and make some money. Right now, it's a bit of a bear market, and I think that you've heard this a lot over the last couple of days. Utility and access are becoming kind of the keys to a launch. What I'm recommending a lot of the people that we work with think about it as is a really low-cost customer acquisition effort. You can gain thousands of people, and then once you have this ownership of a similar object, right, whether it's a generative profile picture, whether it's a badge, whether it's something else, then you can start activating, right? Then you can start actually forming a community. And in my mind, what CC should be thinking about is, how do I create a community out of my fans? And many brands already have that, right? I was talking with Chrissy from Sleep Number earlier. She was telling me they have super fans, right? Same thing with Mattel, Jordan, who's going to be speaking after us. There are already fandom that exists, but utilizing common ownership to help create and combine those is really powerful. So between customer acquisition, community formation, and then into activation, I think that's going to be one of the best opportunities that brands will have.
I actually have a little bit different of a view. Slow down, honestly. Slow down this whole craze. I think one of the things that we've discovered and learned over time is if you just throw something out there, the customer doesn't appreciate it. It has to have a cohesive feel. It has to feel like a storyline. What's the story that you're trying to tell with this? Yes, it's a great way to acquire new customers in different age groups. It's amazing. It's an amazing time, right? It's new channels, new ability, great. But what story is the brand trying to do to their customer base? So I would look at this and I tell them, slow down. Let's understand where you're trying to go. Let's understand some of your core challenges of a customer service, what you're trying to achieve from a customer experience and engagement. And let's come up with a storyline that meets that. Let's come up with a program. Let's come up with that theme. And now let's work at a crawl, walk, run to onboard people to get real value that's utility across the entire enterprise, that we do it correctly, we do it right, and more importantly, it follows the brand voice, culture, experience, and DNA that they've strived so long. I think, we've seen so many times brand put out apps and, all these things and they fail, right? And to acquire those customers back is by far more costly than it is to wait and pause and do it correctly. I think, Apple's done this for years where they're a later market entrance, but it's done so well. And it has that story, that cohesive approach. And that's what we advise. We say, slow down, let's understand what you're trying to do, let's understand what problems you're trying to solve from a cohesive feel, like that synergy. And now let's enter the market in a really thought out well way, which the customer appreciates over time.
Well, I sit in the middle between you guys. Everyone always asks us if we're a ticketing or technology company. I always say we're an education company, really at heart right now. Everyone's still figuring out, with all of the conversations all four of us have with brands and experiences around the world, what is an NFT? We're still at that point a little bit. And then for me, it's how do we utilize tickets to deliver these tools into people's hands in a simplified way that they almost don't even realize they have it. And then at that point, you then get to educate, drive utility, drive value to be able to, create that effect where everyone's, we did a case study about a year ago with the music festival with 10,000 tickets, full Web2 music festival, Web2 music festival. Maybe 200 of them knew about Web3. The music festival went completely smoothly with NFT tickets. They had no idea they had 10,000 NFTs in their wallets. Afterwards, we started driving utility and adding value for all of the people that did claim their NFT tickets post the process, and we've had a flood of people coming back saying, teach us how to download a wallet, teach us how to integrate this into our life, and teach us how to drive digital identity for ourselves. And I think that's really, that's why I sit in the middle, is how do we get them into people's hands and then educate them at the same time once it's there and once they see the utility that they can be utilizing.
And this kind of goes back to human behavior is always about the motivation of doing something that becomes relevant and adds value. So if you can, obviously there's a last mile issue of how you actually get an NFT, which is what Hunter was referring to. And then the next step is, okay, so maybe it's a little bit harder to get a wallet or whatever, but you focus on creating standard marketing procedures, processes, human behavior, behavior modeling. How do you make it hyper relevant or super, delivering a super amount of value so that someone's willing to do something that might be a little bit harder? Obviously, if it's super easy, then they don't need to be as motivated. It's standard behavior modeling. Chris, well, the one cool thing about, well, there's a lot of cool things about D2, but one of the really cool things is that it was really important to the folks that put this on that there was some experiential opportunities here representing ways that you could interact with NFTs, how you could get them, what you could use, the whole value chain as well. And so what I wanted to do is have Chris and Mike talk a little bit about how they brought that to life here. And Chris, maybe we'll start with you, talk a little bit about cross and omnichannel like loyalty creation, but also kind of how you brought that, how you demonstrated that and brought that to D2.
Yeah, thank you. So essentially, we're brand guys, right? We're retail guys. We like to keep things extremely simple for the customer. So the experience that we did here was a simple QR code to add the wallet. So that's because we integrate in, we partner with Apple, we partner with Google, and we own the patent for going into your native Apple or Google wallet. Installing a wallet, getting an account, getting the NFT is as simple as if you've ever added your flight ticket or your concert ticket. You hit that one button, that's the entire process. Now the best part is that is a dynamic, live, interactive NFT that's in your wallet. So in the next 5 minutes, all of your passes that you had that were D2, are now Starbucks gift cards for everybody, because we wanted to thank you for doing that. And now you can scan that at any Starbucks there. It could have been any other retailer, yours, whatever, because we follow out-of-the-box standard retail tools. This way it works from an operational perspective, education, learning and development. 92% of all iPhones use the wallet, right? It's a native way for them to do it. And we have other activations. That QR code was one. We're working with other retailers, putting it, as they use Apple Pay, they can sign up for the loyalty program right from Apple Pay. They can put it in their email receipts and their shipping confirmations. Really, we're hooking into their loyalty, and we're not doing it post. We're making this their profile. We're allowing brands to engage and give reward and value outside of a transaction, but on regular engagement opportunities and experience opportunities and things outside the four walls to show that we value them, but on their life cycle here. So that was a little bit of a demo that we had there. So I hope everyone got it and it switched over. So enjoy your coffee. Frappuccino.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, great.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, I think for us, I already mentioned the fact that digital identity is something that people are in the very early stages of identifying. So we're airdropping an NFT from our collection, Non-Fungible Heroes. If you guys hear PFP as a acronym, it's for profile picture. That's how a lot of people represent themselves, and you guys probably have one. You see my PFP up there on the speaker list. It's also my LinkedIn profile picture, right? I will also change out of those PFPs like I change out of clothing, right? Someday it'll be a non-fungible hero or a villain or a god or some other NFT that I collect. All of them, say some different things about you. So yeah, if you guys have a chance, please do scan in because it's exciting for us to get that into the world. We have a very vibrant community. And whether you participate or not, there's certainly lots of fun and exciting ways to participate in this community and in the others that are popping up. It still becomes a piece of value. And thank you. That gets to the value of an NFT and why NFTs. And I think that's actually a question that you guys should be asking yourselves as you think about entering the space. Does this need to be an NFT, right? Because if you're in a closed ecosystem, if you are, within a private database and you're planning on staying there, you may not need that thing to be an NFT. It's something that we ask everybody. It's like, okay, let's make sure that we're taking advantage of the things that NFTs offer, right? Which is, this universally transparent and permissionless aspect to allow us to not just track ownership, but then actually connect that ownership to other areas of people's digital lives. But the four areas, when it comes down to why NFTs are important, and I end up doing this a lot. One is digital identity or social capital. Two is utility. I own this thing, and because I own this thing, I can get into a concert. I can get a Starbucks gift card. I can get other things of value, right? Other digital assets. The third is community, right? I am connected to others that own this thing as well. And the fourth, we see financial value. I think that's becoming less. It is still. The space is still wildly speculative. There are still, lots of fun opportunities to go and flip JPEGs if you're into that and you're a DGen. But, that financial value, if the other elements are there, then you'll be able to immediately, liquidate an NFT and sell it for, hey, this is getting me into a Snoop Dogg concert. I'm going to sell that NFT because somebody wants to give me $100 for it. Like those types of things happen, and that instant liquidity is a super fascinating aspect that, and this got mentioned once earlier, the confluence of social and identity and finance, like for the first time, all come together in this super unique way. So that's that's kind of the high-level view of the NFT drops.
That's great. And jumping off a little bit of some of the things that you said, Mike, to Hunter, when you see the list of like NFTs use cases, why do you think tickets always shows up there? Why do you think NFT tickets resonates with brands and really, marketers and
because Ticketmaster sucks?
I didn't have to say
Thank
it. Thank
you.
That was going to be my first we are entering a market where there is not a lot of love for our competitors. So we do have that advantage to us. But there's a lot of values in an NFT and a smart contract when it comes to a ticket that don't just lie in the basics that we all know an NFT could fix. fraudulent behavior, mitigating scalping, and putting rules in a smart contract where you can, we were talking about this earlier, we have the ability to say, hey, if you buy a ticket for $100, you do not have the right to sell it for more than 10% of what you bought it for. So we don't want to completely take away this game of scalping and, you know, capitalism of being able to, you know, generate money from buying a ticket and flipping it, but we want to mitigate it to where it's, you know, a completely fair game. We're closing the gap from the primary ticket release all the way to the actual event, the person who's actually going to the event. But then when I started really understanding, especially from our backgrounds in sponsorship from sports as well, was you now have the ability to actually drive data from real revenue from sponsorships in like stadiums. So for example, you know, we've had conversations with sports teams on you've got a big partner that you've had for 10 years and there's only so many eyeballs in digital and social and so on that you've been driving for 10 years. Now you have the ability to attach certain things. And for example, there's a MLB group that we are talking to about taking a specific part of their stadium with an automotive group that has been a major partner of theirs for 10 years. And now you can say, hey, you know what, for this section of the stadium, we can attach a rebate for a car. And now we can actually track and see are people actually, how is the sponsorship actually paying off in revenue? Not just eyeballs, not just new client acquisition and engagement, but are you driving revenue from your investment in this partnership? And then what does it look like after an event to actually collapse that distance and have partners be able to communicate with these fans for the first time directly from a ticket and create loyalty off of going to either their sections or buying certain merch or creating loyalty around the teams and around the artists and also around the sponsors that are all intermingled together but have never really been able to segment where all this is going, and now we can. So those are the real like main use cases of ticketing. Ticketing is just an easy thing for people to understand too. Very relatable. Let's be honest, everyone's upset with what's going on in the market right now, and everyone wants a change. So that's what we're here to do, is how to figure out on a mass adoption scale, how do we implement those changes that benefits and levels the playing field for everyone. Everyone always brings a Ticketmaster conversation to me. I always say, you know, look, we're not going to, you know, we're not going out there to fight these guys, but I truly believe that if a lot of these bigger groups don't start innovating with Web3, they're going to be collateral damage to the groups like us that are really looking forward to what this is going to look like.
But also, you're in a passion industry, right? So we heard Pat yesterday talk about La Liga. It's a sports thing. Everyone's got their favorite sports moment of all time. Obviously, I'm the Eagles, so I don't have too many, but we have a few. You know, but no, you're in a passionate area where there's experience. There's, you know, you went with your friends for the great weekend, and that's why they want to memorialize it. So it makes complete sense why. So.
Yeah, and if you listen to Hunter talk this, like when I was at the Warriors, for example, we would do almost the exact same, like we would say the same words when we teamed up with BMW about a car and everything, but you could see the different level in which you would be able to activate and elevate because it's an NFT ticket. And I think that's where the uniqueness is as a tool to drive the kind of behavior that giving away a car could potentially deliver. Okay. Fantastic. Now we have as we're wrapping up here, we have a rapid round. So this is really a couple words or a sentence on if there's one point that you would like the audience to take away from our discussion or the understanding of utility or anything else that actually you think would be relevant to them. This is your chance to say that, and we'll start with Mike, and we'll come this way.
Sure. I'd hammer on hammer on digital identity. If you look at the signals and the drivers that exist in society today, you have the rise of the influencer, you have Twitch, you have YouTube. I have a 7 and a 9-year-old. They both want to be, you know, YouTubers as their future profession. The establishment of digital identity is going to be critically important. We've seen the seeds of that in gaming, where people can, you know, customize their avatars, right? Special skins, things like that. Ownership of those elements, uniqueness of those elements is going to be incredibly important for every consumer. Look to that if you want to look to trends in the space.
Great. Chris?
I'd say don't go just for the check mark. Understand the brand voice, the experience. What are you trying to tell and communicate to your customer? Right, that's the most important part of all. The technology will be there. Craft the experience, craft the storyline, and then we'll go.
Great. Hunter?
Just utility's not new, and this is just a new tool. And the other thing I say to every brand or company that calls us is if someone says they're an expert in this space, run far away, because no one is an expert in this space yet.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That was great insight.